Okay, I had about 1 million people tell me to watch this. Dark Patterns, are your games playing you? This is Chris Wilson, one of the founders of GGG, talking about dark patterns in video games.
A few years ago, a friend of mine carried a laptop 6 kilometers through the bush just to log into a game and keep a daily login streak alive. That's not fun. That's not entertainment. That's a dark pattern. Hi, I'm Chris Wilson. In this video, I want to show you how some modern games manipulate your schedule, your wallet, and even your friendships.
Oh, here we go.
You may have heard the term dark pattern before. It refers to a design that deliberately manipulates user behavior, usually to get those users to spend money or engage more than they intended. A classic example is a hotel site flashing scarcity cues like, only one room left, 4 people are booking right now. You also see services that are easy to sign up for but hard to cancel. Confirm shaming buttons that say, I'd rather pay full price. Optional extras like shipping.
Dude, I've never heard it called. I never even thought of that one. Confirmed shaming buttons. I'd rather pay full price. Holy dude, I never even thought of that one.
Insurance being automatically added to your shopping cart, or pop-ups that say, don't leave yet, you have unpurchased items. Dark patterns like these are increasingly common, to the point where regulators and consumer groups are starting to push back. Today I want to talk about a less discussed form of dark patterns, and that's their use in the games that we play and make. Given how much money is made by the games industry, it's no surprise that some developers are applying psychological principles to the reward systems of their games to manipulate players into engaging more. In this video, I'm not talking about gameplay systems that are intentionally addictive or immersive. That's part of the entertainment you signed up for. I'm talking about the meta systems, monetization tricks, retention loops, psychological hooks, and UI traps that manipulate you outside of the actual gameplay.
Okay.
Another way to look at this is, if a developer focuses on making a game as compelling as it possibly can be, and it ends up really fun, interesting, and makes players want to play it again and again, then that developer won't need to rely on manipulative psychological tricks to artificially improve their metrics. Okay, enough preamble. Let's get into some dark patterns.
I've had my fair experience here with dark patterns, dude. It's no secret I played a lot of mobile games. I mean, I played Diablo Immortal. I've played Raid Shadow Legends. I've played 1 million of these mobile games. So I'm actually kind of curious about how much he breaks this down, because I've experienced a lot of this shit. And, I want to see how much of this I'm aware of and how much of this I'm actually not aware of.
So, like with non-game
like
products, user interface dark patterns are common. For example, some mobile games ask you to rate them out of 5 stars.
Yep.
If you pick 5, you're sent straight to the App Store to leave a review.
Oh, dude, these ones piss me off. And if you say no, that just closes it. Like, I feel like doing that is it's extremely manipulative, but it feels like something that you shouldn't be allowed to do. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to review it, it should only send you to the actual review store. I mean, it's smart, but also like it's as soon as it does one of those, I immediately always want to give them a bad score. You know what I mean?
Anything less sends you to a developer feedback form instead. This quietly biases actual reviews towards higher ratings by making lower scoring reviews harder to leave.
Yeah.
Another example of a user interface dark pattern.
Plus, like, you wouldn't have to do that if your game's good anyway. Like, you don't need to, like, AstroTurf your reviews. If you have a good enough game, innately people are going to go leave a good review. A lot of these old school games, old school RuneScape, PoE1, a lot of these games are growing by word of mouth because people are leaving the most natural form of good review, which is telling their friends to try the game. So, like, you don't need to, like, basically trick people into giving it good reviews in order to get people that don't know the game to have it show up and be like, oh, that's good reviews. Like, the word of mouth itself would actually carry the game and will carry the downloads itself. And I mean, how many people actually care about, like, star reviews? Let's talk about App Store games for a moment. Like, when I look at a mobile game, I expect most of the reviews to be fake, botted, purchased, this AstroTurf type of garbage. Like, most of the time, I don't care and look at reviews for a mobile game. I'll download it, give it 30 seconds. If an ad pops up or some shit that I have to, like, you'll watch an ad to continue, I immediately delete the game and, like, forget it all exists. Or I'll ask somebody who has played it. Like, there was a good example of one of these, what was it, the Chaos game? I didn't play it. My editor, Jim Tinder, was playing it. He said it was like Slay the Spire, but like a mobile game version of it. He said it was pretty fun. So I was curious to actually download it, but it's almost always word of mouth, or like I ask somebody I know their opinion of it as opposed to like, let me just go look at the reviews. Because I would assume most of the reviews on the App Store, in particular, because I use iOS normally, most of the reviews I assume are fake. And then there's also this thing, which is like the top games of the App Store are almost always just some random garbage. Like they'll actually show and advertise footage, like the trailer of the game that isn't actually what the game is. There was one really annoying one that constantly did this, which it was like wood blocks. It would be like, oh, it's a wood block puzzle game. But you would download it and it was like an RTS game. It had literally nothing to do with it at all. I don't understand how like that's allowed in the App Store as well. It's kind of, the Steam reviews are way better than, for instance, like the mobile game reviews. I don't understand.
It's a game that allows you to spend real money to level up gems that can be socketed into your gear. But players might find that once they have completely maxed out a gem at great expense, more sockets appear, requiring them to spend more money than they initially intended to completely max out their character. This moving of the goalposts could potentially manipulate players into thinking they were going to complete their character for one price when it actually costs a lot more. They may not have committed to spending as much if they knew that from the start. Dark patterns in...
Okay, so this also happens in Maple. I started playing this game called Maple Story Idle because Pox told me about it. I was like, yeah, I'll try it. I like Maple Story. I downloaded it, got addicted to it. And then the game has like this pass where it's like you can buy it for $10 or whatever. And you get the weapon pass. At the end of the pass, you get the weapon. But what they don't show you is that the math is made in a way where by the time you get to that weapon, you're already on to the next tier of weapon. And the weapon you like earned by continuing to pull at the end of like the weapon battle pass is already kind of dog shit and worthless literally anyway. So like they 100%. 100%. This exists in spades.
Games extend far beyond just deceptive user interfaces, though. They're typically categorized as temporal, social, psychological, and monetary dark patterns. I've put some links to some of my references that have comprehensive lists in the video description, but I'll go through a few of the major ones with you right now.
Okay.
Before we get started, I should note that pretty much any mechanism that tries to manipulate a change in user behavior is considered a dark pattern in games, but the severity varies a lot. Some of them are much more mild than others, and a lot of different opinions about which of them are harmless and which are going too far. I'll weigh in with my personal feelings about this later in the video. Many live service games have daily login rewards. In behavioral psychology, when an action is followed by a reward, your brain learns to repeat it. Every day that you log in and receive this reward, you'll get a hit of dopamine, building a habit over time.
And this is like good business to create a habit. And I mean, the login rewards are like dark pattern for sure, but also like this phenomenon of making sure that people have a habit. I mean, you could see this in streamers. Like people who stream, they have every day at the same time. People get in a habit in. In fact, Crip made a great point about this, and it actually PoE ended up adopting this into their release pattern, which is if you have a consistent time when people know that you're going to be online, for instance, for streaming, then they'll always show up. I watched Crip for it was like a year straight, 2 years straight when he played Hearthstone every day, and I think it was at 7 p.m. my time he'd be online. So I would always watch him play Hearthstone over and over and over again. It's kind of the same concept here, but then they apply the daily login, like bonus reward portion to it. But like that in and of itself is, I don't know how I feel about that being like, as a concept being an issue. When it's tied to rewards in a game, like it's obviously becomes an issue. But in terms of development of a game or almost like any business, you probably, want to get in a habit of being consistent.
Players who are conditioned to logging in every day do it not because they're excited to play, but because it feels like brushing their teeth, just something they have to do. Some games have login streaks. This is where the rewards escalate for each sequential day you log in.
These are hyper annoying.
When you break the streak, your rewards reset back down to the minimum level.
Yeah, those are absolute dog ass. I hated those in mobile games because you would maybe not want to log on that day, but you feel like an obligation to log on or you're going to miss it. This pause, by the way, he looks angry as fuck. There's a very honest reaction to what he's talking about here, the angry face. But no, the login streak shit is like hyper annoying for sure. You know, Twitch just implemented this with like their stream streaks, which is like, we just had a guy that was like a 30 stream streak in a row. Yeah, I mean, literally in the chat right now, Dark Morpheus currently on a 30 stream streak. Yeah, Twitch themselves are implementing that type of stuff so that people have FOMO of missing their stream streak because they want more people to watch more streamers so they can blast more ads, right? Like it's the same concept.
Now, humans have a strong sense of loss aversion, where losses feel roughly twice as bad as gains feel good, and hence players will go significantly out of their way to avoid breaking these streaks.
True.
As I mentioned before, I have a friend who was on an off-the-grid camping trip and had to walk 6 kilometers with his laptop and a 3G modem so he could keep a login streak going in some random game he was playing.
Dude, that is commitment. That means they got him on the hook massively. Carrying a laptop, 6 kilometers, what is that, like 5 miles, 4.5 miles, something like that? Good Lord.
There are even games out there that let you pay real money to restore a broken streak.
Imagine being able to, you die in hardcore and you can buy your hardcore character back.
In addition to daily login bonuses, many games have daily tasks or challenges which reset every 24 hours. Players feel obliged to complete these so that the easy rewards don't go to waste. They don't want to miss out on cheap progress that everyone else is getting. Some games rely on dark patterns rooted in social obligation to manipulate you into behaving differently. For example, it's common for mobile base builder games to have guilds or clans where daily participation, like doing quests or donating resources, is important for your guild to succeed.
Dude, the one that comes to my mind here is Clash of Clans immediately. I think Clash of Clans was maybe the first mobile game I ever played because when I was I worked at Nissan, like selling cars at a dealership like way back in like 2012 or something. It was actually like kind of a fun job, to be honest. I only did it for like a temporary time because I was just looking for work. But when I was there, everyone played Clash of Clans because you would sit there for like days without the customers showing up sometimes in the winter. So you would need something to do. So we'd all just sit there and play Clash of Clans and like eat burgers. And that was like pretty much the job. And Clash of Clans, you would constantly be like, oh, I need to log in. I need to do my raids. I need to like claim my shit, because they would do the FOMO thing where it's like, if I don't constantly spin my elixir and gold, then someone can raid me and I can lose that shit. And then, of course, they would sell shields to stop you from being taken. Clash of Clans is one of the first implementer of a lot of these concepts in mobile games. The first game that I ever spent money on ever, though, was actually MapleStory, going back to MapleStory. And MapleStory, of course, it's Nexon, but they had almost every version of every dark pattern you could. I mean, he'll get to it here, but I guarantee you, as he starts talking about these, I would think MapleStory had almost every single one that you can possibly think on. In fact, wasn't there a lawsuit that MapleStory was like straight up selling stuff in like a chance cube that actually didn't exist in there, just said they did, but they didn't? There was some lawsuit about this, I remember, forever ago.
If you don't log in each day and perform these actions, you let your friends down, which causes guilt and social pressure for you to be active daily.
True.
This dark pattern can exploit and strain our friendships, especially when the game is tuned to make daily participation essentially mandatory.
Actually, good point. Jim, my editor, Jim Tindo, has not logged in to MapleStory idle to contribute to the guild in 2 days. He is being kicked from the guild. Thank you, Chris, for the reminder.
Other games feature gifting between players, where reciprocation of gifts is rewarded with extra bonuses. This taps into reciprocity pressure to cause you to feel the need to log in daily and return gifts to people. Some games have refer a friend bonuses, or even outright pyramid schemes, where you make faster progress if you have recruited an extensive network of friends to join the game and play with you.
So back in World of Warcraft, I recruited myself so I could get, because I didn't have any friends, so I'd recruit myself so I could get the zebra mount and like the rocket mount, and then I would just quad box Blizzard mages in order to get the bonus recruit a friend level, so that way I could auto boost like another character up to a higher level, so I could try all the different classes. So I would recruit myself. I was my friend. So if you look at my WoW account, I have like 9 different fucking accounts or something because I kept recruiting myself.
Time-gated tasks, or playing by appointment, are when a game tells you have to come back at a specific time or face consequences. Popularized by farming games where your crops would wither and die if not harvested at the right time, the game forces control of your schedule, sometimes making you wake up in the middle of the night to click buttons or lose your investment.
Oh, please talk about the energy system. Bring up the OG of these, Mafia Wars. You guys remember Mafia Wars? Were they the ones that actually created like the energy system? Oh my God, dude. Back in the day, I remember my friends, I got to do my Mafia Wars. Like, I can't miss out on my energy, dude.
Contemporary mobile games often have timers and energy mechanics, where your ability to progress the game is blocked until you come back when these resources have regenerated. While this is less harsh than your crops being completely lost, you'll feel pressure to come back at exactly the right time to maximize your rate of progress. When you're not the one deciding when you play the game, but instead having the game decide for you, it's worth questioning your entire relationship with that game. Some live service games create artificial scarcity for their store items. As entirely digital purchases, there's no physical requirement to limit the number of people who can purchase something, but doing so often causes it to sell much faster due to players fearing they're going to miss out. This pattern is similar to the one employed in gacha games, where they often have certain characters available for purchase only occasionally.
And then, the one that really annoys me is when they say, like, limited time, this character's out, like, will not be released again. And then 6 months, they're like, nah, just kidding. Like, actually, we're going to re-release it because everyone missed out, and we know we can make more money if we re-release the character we said we would not re-release. That shit pisses me off. So, like, a lot of gacha games did that.
Causing a frenzy of activity when they are. Not only does this cause more sales, but it conditions players to check in with the game daily to see if the character they want is available for sale.
The McRib? Yeah.
There are a variety of dark patterns related to premium currency in games. Developers can design their premium currency packs to be slightly too small to buy the most desirable items, requiring players to purchase more premium currency at once than they plan to. Developers can pick arbitrary exchange rates for their premium currency, so that players can't really understand the true cost of the item they're buying. Cheap items can be placed next to expensive items in the store to make them look like better value. Some games employ special...
Wait, are you talking about the 800% value from Diablo Immortal? Anchoring.
Game or monetization events that are time-limited or seasonal. The content and rewards are only available for a limited time window. Players do not want to miss out on a unique reward that may never be available again, so this limited availability causes fear of missing out, which leads to intense and anxious play during the event window. There's also a phenomenon called the endowed progress effect, which shows that if players are given a head start on a reward track, then they are far more likely to finish the rest of that track so that they don't waste the progress they have so far, even though they didn't even make that progress themselves. It's a bit like the sunk cost fallacy. This is why some Battle Pass schemes start with the first items already completed, or have some really easy...
Maple Story Idol does this too. Man, as he's going through the list, I'm realizing this Maple Story Idol game, I'm gonna blame Pox. I'm sending this video to Pox because it's got every one of these fucking things in it. It's got all of them, dude.
Ones that are inadvertently completed while playing. This manipulates players into committing to complete a reward track that they may not have chosen to attempt without the free bump of progress at the start. So we've gone through a bunch of different dark patterns, and some of them seem pretty user-hostile. You may be wondering, why would developers pollute their live service games with all this crap? Well, there are several...
Money! What do you mean? No, of course I'm not wondering. Why would I wonder? There's only one... I'm not remotely wondering. What do you mean, dude? There's only one answer.
Answers to that question. And the first is that it works. These techniques are all highly effective. They produce the desired outcomes. They manipulate well-understood psychological principles that our human brains are vulnerable to. The second reason is that players generally tolerate many of these design patterns pretty well.
True.
Have a look at the games you play and see what techniques they're using from this video. Ask yourself if these are a big enough deal that you'll quit playing the game entirely over them. Chances are you're still playing the game despite the presence of these manipulative elements.
Yep.
Another important reason is mindshare. There are a lot of live service games out there, and players have a limited amount of free time. If a game doesn't have all of the addictive hooks and manipulative retention mechanisms we discussed, then its players may find themselves compulsively logging into other games to complete daily tasks and forget to play this one. There are also foreign publishers. When a game releases and is popular in its home regions, publishers from other countries approach the studio and offer to localize and market the game in their region. But in order to take the risk of investing in license fees and marketing costs, the publisher is going to want to make sure the game is as sticky and lucrative as possible. The publisher dares not suggest changes to the actual game itself, as the game is already proven to be good. So the only way they have to juice the retention and monetization is through meta systems, which very easily stray into dark pattern territory. Finally, the entire games as a service industry measures the value of a game as a function of its daily active user count and its retention rates. If you're making a live service game, you're only going to be able to get funding if you have a solid plan to retain your users. That plan probably ends up involving some number of these dark patterns, because you have to compete against other games using these techniques. If you have a publisher or investor...
It's an arms race of manipulation, basically, is what he's saying.
...involved, they're probably going to want to see industry benchmarked retention and return from your game, and that is benchmarked against other games that are packed full of dark patterns. If you refuse to use dark patterns in your games, you're effectively competing with games that do use them, while operating at a disadvantage on the metrics that investors care about. This situation really sucks. While by definition, a dark pattern is a design that benefits the developer at the player's expense, some of the techniques mentioned in this video aren't entirely evil, and if clearly communicated and balanced fairly, wouldn't qualify as actual dark patterns.
Yeah, sure.
For example, it's pretty clear that escalating login streaks are quite manipulative, because players really want to avoid breaking their streak. But flat daily login rewards might be more acceptable to players because the penalty for not logging in is just missing one day of rewards. If those rewards are sufficiently generous, and the game is not manipulative elsewhere, players might be happy with that system.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of not... I agree with him. Sometimes in some of the games that I feel like are decent, like logging in, you get a little bonus. It's like, you know, you get a little dopamine when you log in at the moment. I mean, it's fine. Like, I normally have an issue with it when it's like, okay, let's say if you spend $5 on the game, for instance, if it's like a, you know, some pay-to-win dog shit gacha game or something, you spend $5 on it, and then the login rewards are the equivalent of like 20 cents. Like, when the power imbalance is crazy, you feel like it's like a king on a horse and you're like a starving dude and he's like throwing you a crumb of like a burger he's eating. Like, that's the way it feels. It's like, yeah, it needs to be, like he's saying, generous enough that you don't feel like they're just, you know, like, here you go, I'm feeding the birds for a moment.
There are certainly players who really look forward to daily bonuses or special events in their favorite games and enjoy the structure and rewards that those bring, despite the drawbacks we've talked about. Some developers argue that a little psychological nudge can enhance enjoyment of the game, for example by encouraging players via rewards to explore parts of the game they wouldn't otherwise try out. Achievement systems are a common example of this. I previously talked about how time-limited events can be manipulative, because they often offer exclusive rewards that require a lot of work to unlock during a narrow time period, and can take advantage of your fear of missing out.
The thing is, though, is sometimes I think it's cool to have events that reward like a cosmetic or something that cannot come back, because while maybe it does FOMO for people, there's also a percentage of people that have it that's like a pride and accomplishment thing. Like in RuneScape, I have a scythe from like the first Halloween event. They dropped scythes on the ground. I really like that I have a scythe. That's super cool. I was one of the people that have it. Do I feel bad for the new player that joined the game 20 years later that can't have the scythe? No, because it means the scythe wouldn't mean anything if everyone can just immediately get it. So it's like, sometimes I don't mind having stuff that is time gated. I think that's all right. And it's, you know, there's almost no way to have the ability to have things that are unique for when you having been there. If you constantly re-release everything. Like MMOs have some of these, and, you know, having prestige titles or prestige cosmetics or something can be kind of cool. I think if it's just like a time-limited cosmetic that you just swipe for and doesn't really have any much as meaning or something, then it's a different argument. But in terms of like actually having been there, I think is kind of cool.
This is a problem when the event involves grinding out existing content, but honestly, isn't that bad when the event consists of interesting new content? For example, back in January of 2017, Blizzard celebrated the 20-year anniversary of Diablo 1's release by introducing a special event into Diablo 3. The Darkening of Tristram was an homage to Diablo 1 within the Diablo 3 engine, complete with a pixelization shader and a strict orthographic isometric projection like Diablo 1. Players got to play through this mini version of Diablo 1 with their Diablo 3 characters, and it was honestly pretty cool. Even cynical old me reinstalled Diablo 3 and had a fun time checking it out. It looks like they're still running this anniversary dungeon event annually since then. This was a very well executed example of a time-limited in-game event that was a net win for everyone. I have nothing to complain about there. On the
OSRS ended up giving a bunch of those seasonal cosmetics for free anyway. It does. The current seasonal event doesn't affect the game, but you're wrong there. It does affect the game, because when you walk around, literally no one is wearing the seasonal cosmetics. In OSRS, a party hat doesn't mean anything. A mask doesn't matter. No one's wearing the scythes. No one gives a fuck about them at all. So it doesn't ruin the gameplay, but it did remove a part of the game. I mean, a party hat in RuneScape is an iconic item, like in all of gaming. People know what it means. So like having that not actually be in the game maybe doesn't affect the gameplay, which is fine, but it does remove a part of the game that was interesting. So that's like out of all of these, those are one thing that I did actually find to be an interesting mechanic in the game. It didn't really bother me.
On the other hand, time-limited events that don't introduce new content can be more dangerous. A number of years ago, a fellow game director told me a story about a live service game he was running. He wanted to increase player activity in the gaps between expansions, so he decided to try running a double experience weekend. It was a huge success and saw way more players playing than usual. After the weekend, however,
do not like double XP weekends, personally.
Player numbers dipped down below where they were before the weekend, so they ran another double experience weekend the following weekend. You can predict where the story went. After a while, people only played on those special weekends, because playing on weekdays felt far less worthwhile in comparison. The game eventually shut down. While games that overuse dark patterns alienate their users and eventually see the opposite of the good retention they were aiming for, the primary victims of dark patterns are the players themselves. Players affected by dark patterns find themselves compelled into behavior they wouldn't normally perform, whether that's making purchases they hadn't planned for, logging in on days they hadn't intended to play on, grinding content they wouldn't normally choose to grind, referring friends who might not have an interest in the game, or having to set an alarm at 4 a.m. to tend some crops.
Yeah.
These actions have both an impact on their day-to-day life, but also reduce their enjoyment of the actual game itself. They often lead to feelings of anxiety, fear of missing out, commitment pressure, guilt, and frustration. The scary thing is, I'm an adult in my 40s who has spent his career working in live service games. I deeply know all about these tricks and still find them affecting me far more than I'm comfortable with. Imagine what it's doing to kids who are incredibly vulnerable to the constant bombardment of gambling, compulsion, addiction, loss aversion, and anxiety-inducing dark patterns that these games contain. So far in this video, I've tried to offer a
Yeah, the kids are fucked. Like, they're being born into a world where TikTok is the standard and the app store is just full of like garbage. The games are not what they used to be. There are still great games, but it's not quite the same. The big business has made its way into gaming at this point, and the cat is out of the bag.
Relatively neutral take on the pros and cons of these game design patterns. While they're called dark patterns and have a high potential for abuse, I've explained that some of them are moderately harmless if used in a way that provides a lot of value for players. But if you're watching my channel, you probably want my actual opinion on all of this. I put a lot of thought into this area because I used to run a live service game, and I frequently had to make decisions related to what design patterns were used for meta systems, retention mechanics, and monetization. So here's my current take on this topic. First of all, I think that pretty much everything is fair game in terms of the actual design of the game itself. If a game is targeted at adults rather than children, I don't have a problem with people leaning on behavioral psychology research when designing the actual gameplay of the game and its reward systems within the game.
Yeah, that's a good take, because it's like there are people, and myself included, like sometimes I'll like downloading the latest gacha game and just being like, I'm going to see what $20 does, and like just do a poll and then basically delete the game for literally the fun of it, because it's kind of like throwing $20 on a roulette wheel. You kind of don't care. You just want to see what happens. Like, that's fine. It's targeting at adult, that's fine. I get his point here.
Make your games fun. Make them compelling. Make people want to play them and want to return to them for their own merits. Your job as a game designer is to make a really fun game, and understanding how the human brain works is important for that. Players becoming invested in your game and deeply caring about their progression is a good thing. It's why people play games. But I draw the line at deploying dark patterns because they are related to retention systems, meta progression, and monetization. When I'm playing a game, I don't want to have a fear of missing out that makes me feel like I have to play frantically during time-limited events. I don't want to have to log into the game every single day to avoid breaking some stupid streak. I don't want to have to do some minimum amount of activity every day, otherwise I miss out on bonuses. I don't want to have to spam my friends to remind them to log in, otherwise I miss out on rewards. I hate all of this bullshit. When I was growing up, games were designed to be fun, not manipulative. They didn't have literal behavioral scientists and psychologists on staff trying to rewire my brain. Look, I love the economic and competitive.
Yeah, starting to bring psychologists into the gaming sphere is a true sign of it going downhill, dude. Holy shit. 100% agree.
Aspects of live service online games, but I just don't find myself enjoying most modern ones. Whenever I see daily tasks, seasonal events, and all the exclusivity FOMO, I just lose all hope that I'll actually enjoy playing the game because I know that it'll be playing me.
I mean, it's that, but it's also like overwhelming. Like, I don't like to log into a new MMO and have like 55 million stupid red dots I have to, because then it's like I'm spending more time. The actual gameplay, let's say I even was fine with the dark patterns. I'm spending more of my time actually even interacting with them than I am playing the game. So it's like, let me navigate 15 different menus to click all of the fucking red dots and then click on it. Like, I don't want to do UI. I want to play whatever the game is. So it's like, dark patterns are great, but even if you threw that away, it's just it just makes the game unfun because of all the horse shit that you have to do in order to get your daily, get my daily dark pattern out of the way. It just makes the game more convoluted bullshit for just the sake of it.
If you're a developer and really want to add retention mechanisms without straying too deeply into dark patterns, what can you do? Well, first of all, you should try to make your game as fun as possible on its own merits, before relying on external meta mechanics to try to add engagement. Once you've done this, it's a matter of transparency, fairness, and respect for your players. Transparently communicate how things work and what players have to do in plain language. Avoid hidden gotchas that players are unaware of. For example, if you're using loot boxes, clearly communicate their drop rates. Try to ensure...
They have to now. I mean, that's like... Before they didn't used to, but now it's like you have to have that option, right? I think it was EU in particular that regulated this, but there's one of these places regulated this, and now you see them in basically everything. You see
that optional challenges reward effort rather than attendance. Make sure that time-limited events last long enough for real-life schedules. Carefully consider whether reward should be exclusive or whether you should have the event return with the same rewards later, giving players a chance to get them if they miss out this time. It's worth thinking about the concept of time-agnostic gaming. Try not to care about when a player plays your game. Some people can't game every day, but have lots of time available on the weekends. It's unfair if the progress they make is slower than someone who manages to log in every day to claim some type of login reward. So that's been a tour through the dangerous world of dark patterns. As game developers, we have an obligation to think very carefully before we employ strategies like these. Push back and make sure that the reason you're adding something is because it's actually adding more fun, rather than because it'll artificially create more retention or juice some other metric. As gamers, we also have an obligation to push back. If you want more game in your games and less bullshit, make sure that you communicate this to developers. Your money and attention are precious. Spend them wisely. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
You know what's interesting about this is the name of his studio is Light Pattern. You think it's a coincidence? His gaming studio is called Light Pattern? Nah, this is a pretty good one. I agree. The only one that's like I think I feel differently about is I kind of like limited time cosmetics because it shows, in particular for MMOs I'm referencing. If you have like a title or something which shows you were there, some Christmas event or something, I think that stuff's kind of cool, just as long as it doesn't actually impact gameplay. Otherwise than that, 100% yep! Yep, it's all true. Unfortunately, I think the cat's out of the bag of this stuff. Like, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. Although, I'm curious to see if he's got all kinds of references here. I'm curious to see when he makes his game, because he's making one with Light Pattern Games. I'm kind of curious to see what he cooks up. Good video plus decent comment. Yeah, no, he's had a pretty good channel recently, actually. Like, I don't know if you guys... I've watched some of these. The one with David Brevik was great, How to Get into a Game Studio. I haven't watched the Minecraft. It's actually a hardcore action RPG, but Chris Wilson becoming a YouTuber, it was not on my 2025 bingo card is the meme, but these are all pretty good. Yep, that's a good one.